Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to the channel Bookables. Today I am here to do a tag. Today I am here to do a tag that I do every single year, and that is the mid-year book freakout tag. Yes, like I said, I have done this probably 5-6 years in a row. It's a great tag. You do it, you guessed it, in the middle of the year to talk about your reading progress of the year so far, what you want to accomplish for the second half of the year, and things like that. So I'll link all of my previous tag videos down below because there's a lot, but let's get into it. Best book you've read so far in 2023. So when I look back at my reading this year, two really stood out to me. I have more than 5 stars than this, but these are two of my, they're pretty high up there on my 5-star. They're pretty high up there on my favorite books of the year so far. I don't ever really think about that until November, December, so just so you're aware, but they're two different genres too. First up, Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is my favorite Emily Henry book, and this one is one that there's a lot of people that love it. There's a lot of people that also do not like it. I loved it. I think I loved it so much because it was, I really feel like it resonated with me because it's all about characters in their 30s trying to figure out their friendship and trying to figure out where they go from here. And I just felt that so much on an emotional level because I'm about to turn 35 this year, and I felt that I felt the same way with my friendships. Also, the love story was great in this book. Second chance romance. It's a great romance and a great summer read at that. So definitely one of my favorite books of the year so far. Also, How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I went into this book thinking I would really like it because I do really enjoy most of Grady Hendrix' books. I think this is my second 5-star book I've given him, but I love this one. This one scared me, but it also made me cry. That is really interesting for a horror novel. It's all about siblings that have to sell their parents' house, but maybe their parents' house is haunted by some freaking puppets, and if that sounds disturbing and scary, it is. So these two books are up there for my favorite books of the year so far. We're only halfway through the year. So next up is best sequel you've read so far in 2023. I don't read a lot of sequels, but I will say, I don't read a lot of sequels, but I will say Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez is kind of like a sequel / spinoff to her book that came out last year, Part of Your World. So I am counting it as my sequel that I've read this year. Is that cheating? Probably. Number 3 is new release you haven't read yet but want to. A lot. One in particular that I haven't read yet is Love Theoretically by Ally Hazel. Well, this one just got released this month. Haven't read it yet. Want to read it, just haven't read it yet. You know, time is always of the essence for me. Speaking of releases, next up is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So, sorry, the sun is being bleh. So I don't do too much research when it comes to releases until I'm going to do my fall release videos in probably September, so I don't really start researching that until August. So I just did a little bit of research to see what are some books that are coming out later this year that I'm interested in. So it was Bookshops and Bone Dust, or Book Dust, by Travis Baltry. This is kind of in the same lore of Legends and Latte that I read this year and that I loved, so I'm very much anticipating that one. And then we have Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. This is another one of her thrillers, and I've read 2 thrillers by her so far. Love them, so very, very excited for that one. And the last one I have on here is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. This is her second foray into adult fiction. Her first adult fiction book came out last year called Else for Forgetting Things, and I loved it. It was very very light magical realism, but I love the writing style in it so much, so I'm very excited for this one. Next up, we have biggest disappointments. I do have some of those. Number 1, The Daydreams by Laura Hankin. I had this on my 5-star prediction list. I thought it was going to be amazing. I was kind of comparing it in my mind to Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid because it's all about this music group that was very popular in the 90s that they're reuniting, and it just sounds kind of in the same vein of that. And it's not really at all. It's more about a kid's TV show, kind of a la Glee or Hannah Montana, that kind of thing, and they reunite and they talk about their past, and it just was not, I did not like it whatsoever. I really didn't like it. That was a big disappointment for me. Also, What Lies in the Wood by Kate Alice Marshall. I have read one other of her books before. It was a young adult it was a young adult thriller that I really enjoyed. So I was very interested to see how she was going to go into adult thrillers. And honestly, I predicted all of the plot twists. It just wasn't that interesting. I was very disappointed in it. So I'd say those two probably right now are my biggest disappointments thus far. Biggest surprise, and I have 3 of these because they all surprised me as they do. First up, In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. So this year I've been trying to get into a little bit, dipping my toes in the pool of the world of indie romance. And I had heard a lot about this. I saw it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I read it. And if you don't know, a lot of indie romances are freaking huge. Like, I think because of like Kindle Unlimited, they get certain authors get paid for more if they write longer books. But I fell in love with this book. Wasn't expecting to, thought it was just going to be a quick kind of book, kind of like Things We Not Got Over by Lucy Score, which is somewhat overrated in my opinion, but I loved In a Jam. Was not expecting to love it as much as I did, and I wish more people would read it, honestly. Another big surprise for me was The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Maria Zapata. Now, a lot of indie romance authors now are starting to get their previous books kind of like signed onto a traditional publisher, and this one was one of them. So I had a chance to read it on NetGalley because her book's like, I really want to read All Roads Lead to Here, and I went to purchase it the other day, and it can't be purchased anymore because a publisher picked it up. So I have to wait till January, which I was like, ugh. So a lot of her previous books are being, you can't get them right now because they're starting to slowly get traditionally published, with good reason, because The Wall of Winnipeg and Me was amazing. Slow burn romance, like it was long, but I was here for it. Huge surprise, loved it so much. And then the last surprise I will say is Fourth Wing. I know everybody and their mother have been talking about this I know everybody has been talking about this recently, but I enjoyed it, and it was a surprise for me with how much fun I had with it. It wasn't a surprise for me of how much I loved or anything. I figured that I would enjoy it, but I didn't think I would have that much fun. Like, it took me back to Divergent, Hunger Games time, 2011, Heather, and I was here for it. Next up is favorite new author, and this could be either a debut author or a new to you author. And for me, I'm gonna have to go with Maria Zapata. When I read The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, I could see why it was so hyped. I could see why everyone talked about it, and I purchased like 3 more of her books because I loved her writing so much and how she made a very long, slow burn romance worth it, and I loved it. So I definitely say for this year, for sure, Maria Zapata has my heart, even though I've only read only 1 book by her. Next up is Newest Fictional Crush. I don't get these too much because your girl's in her 30s, and I don't know. But I will say Xaden from Fourth Wing, I was like, hello, you were kind of like every other guy I've read in like a YA dystopian, like 4, you know, all these other characters, and I don't mind whatsoever. I was into him. I was into it. I'm not gonna lie, I was into it. It's kind of on the same vein as that as Newest Fictional Character. It's Lucy from The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. I'm reading this on ebook, and I just feel Lucy is just an amazing character. This whole book is kind of like a take on so many things. It's about an author that makes this contest like kind of Willy Wonka styles, where he invites readers to come out there and they'll win his newest book. And Lucy is one of those readers. She is an adult, and she is really trying to foster to adopt this one kid that goes to her school because she's a teacher's aide because his parents died a few years ago. And she really wants to be his mom. He really wants her to be his mom, but she doesn't have enough money, enough resources. And so this is her opportunity to like win, to get, you know, for Christopher to be her son, and that drive is just amazing. She also deals with a lot of resentment with her parents because she had a sibling because she has a sibling, and when they were younger, her sibling was very, very sick, and her parents kind of doted all their attention to her. And I felt that on some ways because when I was younger, I have a younger brother. He had cancer. He's totally fine now. He is, how old is he going to be? He turns like, he just turned 31. We're old. And when he was younger, he had cancer. And so with that, I felt like I was an only child for a bit. I felt like I was kind of like the other kid for a little bit because I didn't get a lot of attention, and it was just really hard. I come to terms with it. My mom and I are great. Like, it's hard no matter which way you cut it when you have a sibling that is sick, that either is cancer or disease or something like that. It's going to be hard for the parents because dividing time. It's going to be hard for the other kids because they feel like they're not getting enough time. But Lucy's parents really have not talked to her at all. So I felt very connected to Lucy. I'm feeling very connected, and her drive to be a mom to this child is just amazing. So I love her so much already, and I'm not even finished the book yet. So I love her. Next up is book that made you cry. The only book that's really made me cry this year is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Like, I sobbed a lot because this also deals with siblings as well that aren't that close. And I felt that was kind of me and my younger brother. Everything's totally fine now, but this year has just been the year for me with reading of a lot of characters that have been through the same as me. So both of these kind of made me cry for like the same reasons, but this one, like, yeah, it made me cry. And I was not expecting to cry whatsoever while reading this book. I was expecting to cry of like being scared, honestly. Next up, we have a book that made you happy. Of course, I'm gonna have to go with Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This is all about an orc that opens up a coffee shop, and if it sounds heartwarming, it is. It is so cute, so heartwarming. Doesn't have a ton of plot, but man, you're just gonna smile ear from ear when you read this book. Next question is most beautiful book you bought so far this year or received. So for me, I would have to say the most beautiful book I bought is Wayward by Amelia Hart. I also really love this book as well. It'll be on my favorites of the year, but it is beautiful. It's got this raven. That's a raven, right? I have a hard time telling ravens and blackbirds. But it's also got like a beetle, other beautiful things. I want to say the hardback's really pretty too. Just kidding, it's not. But it's beautiful. It's my favorite cover of the year so far. Next up is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Let's take a look at my TBR cart here. There's a lot. I have Before You Let Go by Kennedy Ryan I would love to read before the end of the year, as well as Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld, as well as The Maid's Diary by Loris Ann White, as well as, I mean, goodness me, I could go on for years here. I really would like to check out the London Seance Society. That would be great. I would like to say I'll read The Winners by Frederick Bachman, but I don't know. It's massive. I'm not sure. And is my heart ready for it? I don't know. There's so many more I would like to read by the end of the year. Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber I've heard a lot about, and I want to check it out. Also, this behemoth, the Serpent and the Wings of Night. What a title. So that's just a few of them. Will I read all of them? Probably not. Who knows with me? Who knows, honestly. And my Kindle. I haven't even looked at my freaking Kindle yet. I've been organizing my Kindle I've been organizing my Kindle into collections, so for like what books come out certain months, like what books come out each month, and there's a lot on there for each month still that I haven't read yet, so I'm not gonna even go there. Either way, that was the mid-year book freakout tag. Overall, my reading progress is really good this year. I have very high hopes for the end of the year. When I comprise my favorites list, I really feel like I have a good turnout already when it comes to that, because some years I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know how it's gonna be. So I'm very excited to see what the second half of the year is gonna have in store for me for reading wise. We'll just have to see. I would love to see you answer these questions down below. I'll leave all the questions for you to do that, and as always, thank you for watching. Bye.
Breathe in calm.